associated with manhood, and that's so very true. So what Mr. Porter is saying is, until we start thinking outside the box and looking at us how the dominating culture is, how men wants to rule and dominate women and children, or wherever he wants to be in control. We are destroying ourselves slowly but surely, because we are allowing society to dictate to us or tell us who we are as men. And that's the wrong definition. And I say in the beginning that we need to have a clear-cut biblical definition of manhood. And then two, we must have a directional process. And then thirdly, we need to have a ceremony, or we need to have continuous ceremonies in that young boy's life as he grows older. All right? We got a few more things, and we almost finished here. All right. How to break games out of the act like man box. And what this means is that many of you, or many of your young boys and some men, play computer games. All right. I don't play them because I don't know how to play. I never know how to play these games. But you can break games out and then teach that boy how to come out of that man box. So those games are centered around the man box. If you know it or not, about killing, it's about violence, it's about all these things that we've been talking about is in those games. And we need to pull that person or that young boy away from those games, because it's pulling him deeper and deeper and deeper into that particular box. I'm going to read a few things here and then we're going to close out. I don't want to make the Master Chef, and I guess it's a game, a girl, and then have everybody go, this guy is kind of like scared and running around. The statement offered by an unidentified audience member at the end of the connection between boys' social status, gaming, and conflict panel at the GDC 2014 this afternoon hit the audience like a force of nature. The crowd's outrage was expressed with an aspirated groan that rolled across the room like a quick-moving thunderstorm, suggesting that the fright was inherently female characteristic, and that a female Spartan super soldier in the Halo universe could therefore not be as brave as the male Master Chief. There is the control factor, that men are supposed to be better. We're supposed to be over everything. We're supposed to be in control, all right? Might have been a slip of the unidentified attendee's tongue, but is an example of the unconscious sexism that has historically gone unquestioned in the game industry, which is so true. The year's GDC has opened an entire advocacy track specifically to address those kinds of issues. It is a bulletin to the service of inspiring developers to make games that challenge the dominant design paradigms, making those games more interesting in the process. What would happen if Master Chief, in the face of overwhelming odds, expressed fear instead of sporting plateaus, which would feel right at home in the 80s action movies? Boys are suffering greatly. Here we go. Listen to this. Boys are suffering greatly because they are afraid to ask for help. We just talked about it a little while ago. All right? Says Rosalind Wiseman, the author of the guide, Managing Douchebags, Recruiting Wingman, and Attracting Who You Want, and an expert on bullying, ethical leadership, and how social media affects children's emotional and physical well-being. Wiseman states here, polluted male children regarding what made someone strong, height, emotional attachment, athleticism, popularity with women, and skills at video games were some of the answers she got. Those characteristics are the contents of the act like a man box. There we go again. Says Weissman. They read like a direct description of a certain hero from an insanely popular science fiction franchise who wears green power armor and fights aliens. According to the boys' Weissman poll, strong people didn't act like a girl. Being easy upset, here it goes. Being easy upset, awkward, or having disability were also things that boys identified as making someone weak. Our young people are feeling isolated, and sometimes video games provide an incredible way for them to link with other people. Weissman said if boys can ask for help, they can use video games as a way to feel confident about asking for help. Game developers may actually be able to save lives. Now, I'm going to read this, and then we're going to close this out. Boys are conditioned to play certain types of video games like Halo or Call of Duty. Weissman said because those games enforce the behaviors that draw from that act like a man box, these same characteristics tend to lead to popularity. popularity in school. There it is, so true. Not acting, 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 acting like somebody that you're not, but you get yourself wrapped up in games to make them see that you're good at this game and I'm this and I'm that. I can play this game, I can beat you. You see what I'm saying? It creates that atmosphere. It'll make you feel cool, make people accept you because you're a good gamer. All right? Here it goes. These same characteristics tend to lead to popularity in school. Those games perpetrate the behaviors to be expected from boys who want to be perceived as being strong. There it is. The man box. Be strong. Don't show no emotion. The boys' rights and poll were not blind to the way these games perpetrate expected behavior for boys who want to be perceived as strong, and some of them didn't like it. All right? Guys try to stay in the man box, and the guys try to stay in that box and can never really be who they truly are. Weissman quoted at one student as saying, "When I moved here, I always tried to be in the box and be cool. All right, but it never worked out and always made me miserable because he's not being himself." So, boy, men, women, if you have sons and if guys out there just listen, don't try not to be who you're not. Don't try to impress somebody because that's not going to prove anything. Find out who you are on the inside with God and let Him define who you are. And then we can train our young boys and not let them allow them to be fit into a box that's going to destroy them later on in life. All right? We can all learn something new if we're willing to receive the truth. All right? That's what it's all about. Until we learn to receive the truth, we are the leaders right now, but we got to train the young boys so when we're not here anymore, they can take over and make this society much better than what it is now. All right? Boys cited first-person shooters and sports games as the genres that public kids play by a very wide margin, but when Weissman asked when games were popular at school, period, action adventure games topped the list. Conclusion, boys did not limit their game choices by what they would make them popular, and when Weissman asked boys whether they had ever played a game just because the popular kids were, almost 80% of them answered no. In Weissman's eyes, that reflects boys' resistance to the inbox, thinking how they ought to act as boys. Praise be to God. And lastly, empowerment is tied to high status, traits like those within the act like man box, but it doesn't have to mean encouraging players to act like idiots, all right? Culture is everything we've been told, but never been sat down and taught. That's so true. And Weissman says, I want you to think about this term in dynamics of aggression. If it is human to be a part of a group, and it is the culture that we live in, it is constantly giving off messages about what we should be like. This is about the mechanism of how we teach denigration and bigotry, and that is so very, very true. If you have a friend who is in the box, I'm talking to each and every one of you, and he goes off after someone who is outside the box, you are not going to want to stand up for the person who's outside, even if you think what's happening is wrong, because then you will literally get pushed to the outside. Says Weissman, it is how silent bystanders become active perpetrators, and that is so very true. We got to learn how to stand up for our core values, for our standards, and if you don't know, call us here at 919-482-5850, and we will talk to you to help you with this to get out of that man box. I don't live in a man box. I'm not going by what side say. I'm going to live by how God tells me to live. Until that day, then I'm not going to conform. I will not conform. And you have to make the same thing. People are going to talk about you, and they're going to talk about you the day you die. But that don't change anything in their eyesight. But you know who you are. And if you know who you are, then you don't have to be condemned, and you don't have to conform to what they think to be accepted. As long as God accepts you, that's all that matters. Until that time, we have to start raising our boys not to fit into a man box, but fit into God's box. But God's box is not closed in. It's open because He wants us to love each other, love our neighbor as ourselves, and love God with all our heart, our mind, our soul. Until we do that, then the man box is going to continue to destroy us. God is willing to set you free. If you're willing to let society go and don't let them dictate your life, then your life can change. Praise be to God. We hope that you have enjoyed the message today. This has been a powerful broadcast. Praise be to God. I thank God for it. I thank each and every one of y'all for tuning in. We're going to come back next week with another Power Pack broadcast here on the Charlie Network for Men. Man, I tell you, I'm just so full right now because I felt that this message had to be sent out there because we're training our boys and we're setting them up for failure and we don't know why. This is the reason why. Because we're allowing them to fit into a box that God did not create for them. All right, we're allowing allow society to create these boxes for us, and it affects our relationships. It affects our job, our communities, everything wraps around that. And that's what society, that's the enemy. The enemy uses that to defeat us. All right, because if he can cut the head off of the man, everything else is going to fall after that. And that's what society has been doing for the last 300, 400, 500 years. It's continually to go downhill. Really, it started in the garden. All right, but we have to change that. All right, and we can change that. So we thank you so very much for tuning in. We look forward to seeing you on next week at the same time. As my brothers would always say, it doesn't matter what happened to you, it's how you react to them that matters. Finally, the secret is out. Even strong men struggle. Praise be to God. We love you, and we look forward to seeing you next time here on the Charming Network for Men. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.